So in this video, I'm going to teach you how to use value and form to add shading and make this lion look more realistic. So when you're shading, you're adding values. The value is the lightness or darkness. So you've got the darkest value down here and the lightest value up here and the medium value, and then there's kind of variations in between. So the more values you add, the more realistic it will be. You at least need to do the darkest dark and the lightest light and the medium value. But the more you fill in these other values, the more realistic it will look. So form is the 3D illusion that you get when you shade an object's value. So right now we're working on this. I've already drawn out this lion, the outline of it, but I'm going to be using a pencil to shade it. So the first thing I want to do is find all of the darkest darks and put those in. So while looking at this, I can see darkness here. So that's anywhere where the one part of the body is touching another part, you're going to get a shadow. Or if it's touching a surface like the ground, this one's where the knee is touching the body. And then here's where the arm crease is coming. Under the chin, there's a shadow, and across the cheek and behind the ear, and down here on the foot. We've also got creases in the mouth and the nose and right around the eye here. So I'm going to be doing this. So let me set up my thing here so you can see everything I'm doing. Okay. So I'm going to look for those darkest darks, and I'm just going to block them in. So here where the leg is resting on the ground, there's a shadow. And then up here where the arm is pressing up against the body, there's a shadow. And here in the crease of the elbow, I'm going to make sure I'm pressing down really hard with my pencil, as much pressure as I can to create that shadow. So this whole area here is going to be kind of filled in with that darkest value. I'm going to kind of let that shadow go between the hair a little bit. Okay. There's a little bit more here on the top of this foot. And around the toes, because the toes are touching each other, there's some darkness there where the toes touch. So I'm going to put that in. And down here, there's probably a shadow where the toe is touching. Okay. And over here, there's darkness. I'm going to press down really hard and kind of fade it out into that medium value, so you've got kind of a smooth transition. And we'll go back and get all of those and fix them up. But right now we're just focused on getting all of those super dark values in. There's darkness here. I'm gonna fade that out a little, release the pressure of my pencil. And some shadow here behind the toes. Okay, and then on the face, we've got a dark value here under the chin, some down here, and then across the cheek there's darkness. Kind of circular shape as the hair brushes back. And behind the ear, around it, fade that out, and inside the ear, release the pressure. Here, there's a little bit right there, fade it out, kind of around the eye, nose, and the mouth. Okay, And in the tail, there's a little bit, so I'm gonna move that here. Got some here. And down there. Okay. So now we've got all of our darkest values in, this darkest dark. So we're gonna leave the highlights white. Highlight is anywhere where the sunlight is hitting it and creating almost a white shade. So that's up here where the sun is hitting the nose. Down here, there's highlights in kind of in the middle of each arm or leg, and on the top of the tail feather. And around the ears, there's some highlights. So we're gonna leave those white, so we don't need to shade those. But what we're looking for now is this medium value. So we can get that from releasing the pressure of our pencil a little bit. So when we did the dark value, we were pressing down hard, but for medium, we're gonna shade. So like the highlight, I can see it in the picture, is about right there. So we're just gonna put medium values everywhere around it and try to leave that. There's highlights on the top of the toes as well, so I'm gonna leave those around. You see how I kind of left that white in the middle to be the highlight. So you get that medium tone by not using the full pressure of your pencil. And you can see how I'm kind of using the side of my pencil, not the tip. And that helps create that texture that you want that's more blended. Okay. So the highlight is right here. So I'm leaving that white and I'm shading everything around it. Okay. Highlight is here and kind of along there. So I'm shading everything except that. Okay, around the toes, there's kind of like a dark value where you've got the toenails. There's a highlight right on top of the toe. Okay, so on the face, there's highlights on the top of the eyebrow, right here and right there, and kind of here and here. So I'm going to shade around it. Okay, and the mane, there's highlights up on top, but most of it is that medium shade. And it gets darker around the edges. And then there's kind of a highlight there, so I'm going to leave that white. Okay, we're getting there. So I'm going to shade the tail. There's a highlight in the middle. So I'm just going to kind of shade and leave part of the tail white. And then here, there's highlights up here. So I'm going to shade around those. There. So now we've got the darkest dark and the lightest light and the medium. So now we're looking for the variation, and we're gonna give a smooth texture by finding all the medium tones. So you're gonna kind of blend the middle a little bit, kind of get closer to that highlight and get closer to that shadow by blending it and making it more of a smooth transition rather than a harsh edge where you can see the changes in values. That's going to give you more medium tones. And it's also going to make it look cleaner. All right. There we go. Just kind of blend it up. I'm going to kind of put more of that texture in there. So this counts as kind of a dark value, but I'm doing it in a crispness to make texture. Here. I don't know why I left a highlight there because there's not one. Go ahead and fill that in. So if you lose any of your highlights, you can take the eraser and just pull them back out. So what we're gonna do now is use a tissue, just a regular Kleenex, and we're gonna wrap it around our finger like this, and that's gonna smooth out the texture. So you're just gonna kind of rub on top. And that's going to smooth out some of the lines you made with your pencil and make it more of a smooth texture so that it looks, the craftsmanship is better. And this is where you're going to lose some of those highlights, so you might need to go back through and erase them back again. So it's getting pretty dark, and I don't want to get too dark, so I'm going to change where my finger is for those lighter values. All right, so since I smoothed it out, I'm losing some of my highlights a little bit, so that's when I'm going to come back through that with that eraser and bring them back out so we don't lose them, and kind of carve some into the main. There we go. So that's pretty much how you shade. So now we've got the darkest values, the lightest values, the medium values, and when we did the tissue, we got some of these values in between, and that's giving us that illusion of a 3D figure. So that is how you shade something.